Hi, in this video we'll be going over how to basically we'll be working with partially filled arrays. So we'll be doing this as a GUI. So we have, so I just have a list box here called output list box. And I have, so I set the identifier name as output list box. And I have a button here called go button. I just set the text to go. So we'll just reference those identifiers in the code here. So in the constructor here, we'll just set the identifier. So we'll say output listbox dot name points to output listbox. Then for the button, so we'll call here go button dot name points to go button. So we'll have to add the elements to the list box. So here we could say output list box dot items dot add. So we can add here some values. Actually, let's add a string first. So let's say, actually, we might need a file for this. Okay, so I think we have some files that we can use. So let's just start adding some things to the list box. So when you click the go button, the app reads up to 100 values from a file named values.txt and stores them in a 100 element int array. A file, if the file contains fewer than 100 values, the app will partially fill the array. The contents of the array are then displayed in a list box. So we might actually not have to add anything here. So let's just not add anything yet. We'll just set up the click event for the button. So we'll just say go button. It might be strings. I'm not sure what's in the array. It might actually just be strings. So here we'll just say go button. I don't think I can open the file. I think if I open the file, let me try just opening the file. Hopefully you guys can still see the screen while I do this. Where is this called? I think it's called C#. Do we have another file here? We'll just go with C# file.txt. I think that's what it's called. C#. So C and then the capital S. The capital F is actually lowercase. Okay. Let me just change these. Let me just change these to a bunch of numbers, and I'll save it. So I'm just gonna add. You can't see this, but I'm just gonna add a bunch of numbers to a text file, separated on different lines. Okay, so I'll save that. I'll close it, and then we'll go back to the code here. So we'll create the go button.click. So go button.click points to actually, sorry, yes, so we'll say go button.click plus equals new event handler. Then here we'll pass in go button underscore click. That's going to need a semicolon too. Then underneath that we'll just go to the event handler here, so we'll just say private void go button. So here we'll have go button, and then we'll say private void go button underscore click, and then we'll pass in here two parameters: object sender and event args e. Okay, so then now we'll create the int array. So we'll say int array vals. Actually, sorry, first let's have a try block. So we'll say try have a constant int size. We can just do like 50. We'll say constant int size points to 50. And here we'll say int array vals points to new int array passing in size as the size of array index size. We just change this to capitals. And here we'll say int count points to 0. We'll have to add the using directive system.io. So we'll say using system.io. Then here we'll say stream reader. We'll create a stream reader object called input file, because we're gonna create a input stream to the file. So here we'll then say input file points to file.openText. Then we'll open the file here. So actually I'll just create the path. So here we'll say C# file.txt after the Windows path, and don't forget the @ sign. I think you need the @ sign. Actually, maybe I should need the @ sign. Maybe no @ sign. No, you need the @ sign. What's wrong with this? Okay, I think it's waiting for the catch block, so we'll just do the catch block here. So we'll say catch exception EX. Then the catch, so the error is going to go away. Then we'll go back up here to the top. Okay, so we're at input file points to, so we created a stream reader object reference here, then we created a file object here. So we said input file points to file.openText. So we're gonna create a stream, input stream to the file. Then read the file's contents into the array until the end of the file is reached or the array is full. Okay, so we're here now, so we'll have a while loop. So we'll say while not input file dot end of stream. So basically that's just saying while it's not the end of the file, while there's still data in the file. Then we'll say and count is less than vals.length. Then we'll say here vals of array index count points to int.parse passing in the string input file dot read line. So we're saying, so here we're trying to pass, or we're passing this, so it takes a string parameter, so the input file, the data from the file is going to be read as a string. So we're passing that as an int to the vals array. We could have stored it in a string array, or we could have just yeah, so we could have just done that. I think it may be able to just use readline without parse, but that way works too. So then here we'll just increment count. So we'll say count plus plus. And we'll close the file stream after that. We'll say input file dot close. Then we'll add the elements to the list box. So here we'll say output list box dot items dot add. We'll add the we'll say output list box dot items dot add. Well, first we'll add a string here. So we'll just say the file contains plus count plus elements. Oh, sorry, the string elements. Then here we'll say for int I points to 0, I is less than count, I plus plus. We'll say output list box dot items dot add. We'll add, so we'll say, so what are we doing here? So we're saying we want to add a string first to the list box, passing in the value, and then another string saying elements. Then we're gonna loop. We're gonna have a loop. We could have just used a for each loop here. Yeah, for each loop. So, but instead we just used a normal for loop. So we're saying for int I points to 0, I is less than count I plus plus. So it counts how many elements are in the list box, and it's going to iterate that way. Or we could have just iterated through the array using a for each loop. That way works. So then here we could just say, after that, we're going to access the list box dot items dot add. Then we'll add vals of array index I. Something happened here. Okay. There's an error. Let me just check where it is. 42. Maybe there's oh sorry, there's something outside of the string, so we'll just delete that. So here we'll just catch exception EX. So we'll say catch exception EX, and then we'll just show the exception in a message box if it occurs. So we'll say message box.show ex.message. We'll just do that one more time because we kind of did that earlier. So here we'll just say catch exception. Alright, let's go with exception. We'll say catch exception, and then here we'll say message box.show exception.message. That's it. So I'll just save it and run it, and it should just be outputting the files to the list box. And let's try to change that for loop to a for each loop as well. Just loading here. I'm not sure what's happening. Okay, it says it's build succeeded, so it should pop up. You won't see this part, but I'll just describe it. So we'll just click go. Okay, so the elements came up, so I'm just going to close that. I'm going to try to change this loop here. I'm going to comment this loop out. So what's happening here? Let's just see what's happening. So count is, what's count? So count is set to 0 here. So when the button's waiting for an event to occur, it's listening for an event. The event occurs after the button click. Variable name int count is set to 0. Then we reference count here in the while loop. So we say, well, input file does not equal the end of stream and count is less than vals.length. So vals.length is going to instantiate an array of 50 elements. Count is going to point to 0. So then count's going to point to 0. So while count is still less than the number of elements in the array. So basically count's going to track how many elements are in the array. It's just going to count how many elements or indexes are in the array. So then the while loop says while the input file dot end of stream. So while the input file while the input file still has data to process in the file and it's not the end of the stream. So input file, or just basically we're just saying while the input file is not the end of the stream and count is less than the vals.length. So while 0 is less than 50, then we'll step in here to it's going to point the array index. It's going to point so that, remember, the array index is empty. There's nothing in the array except for zeros at this point, I think, because the array gets initialized to zeros as a default value, or null if the array is not initialized. So here we're saying val of array index 0 because count is 0, or vals of array index count points to, then it's going to pass whatever's in the file, which is a string, as an int. So it's going to take those values. I have like a bunch of values, like so the values are like this. For example, I just have like this, a bunch of values going like that. Just, I don't know how many there are, maybe 10 to 20 values going down in the text file. So the array is going to get filled with some values. Then the input file stream is going to close. Then we're going to add this string to the list box here. Then instead of adding the array to the list, adding the elements to the list box from the array that way, we could try going like this. So we could say for each int val in vals. I think we called our array vals. Then here we can say output list box dot items dot add. So we can say output list box dot items dot add. Then we can just add val. So I'll just save that and just run it just to see if it's the same result. Okay, so the same values are added and the rest of the array elements are 0. So that's the end of the tutorial. Thanks for watching, guys. If you guys like the video, you can like and subscribe to the channel to support the channel for more programming and investing tutorials. In the next video, we'll be going over what are we going to be going over? Let's just see. So we'll do another lab to process an array that reads some values from a file. And score. So basically, we'll just read some scores from a file and stores the test scores in an array as well. Thanks for watching, guys. If you guys liked the video, you can like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.